Welcome to Provocative, Informative Dialogue, rooted in self-evaluation, empathy, and humility. It's when Black men talk. I'm your host, Mark Elliott. Hope this episode find you doing well. Just finished off a cup of green tea inside Elliott's loft, and I figure why not do a little chatting. Happy to have you give me an ear. You know, in communication, for years we heard communication, such this powerful instrument, this powerful tool that's needed for relationships. And it really is. When you think about communication, it's a strong pillar for a healthy relationship. Openly expressing thoughts, feelings through speech. I just wonder sometimes, how does communication just get lost? It just does. Being that it's so important to relationships in our daily life, why aren't we better at it? Realistically, why aren't we better at communicating? And I would think if we're not good at it, it should be something we work at. Realistically, if it's something that we're not good in, and we have a weakness to, shouldn't that something we kind of take to basically aim to do better in? Just my thought. Well, something about communication is necessary. Real talk. Yeah, real talk should be authentic in relationships when we think about communication. Now, it's a simple phrase, real simple phrase, but the foundation is not common, possibly because the link is in honesty. Give that some thought. The link is in honesty. Honesty should be basically the norm. It should just be the natural fiber of communication. Direct and serious communication. All those together make up real talk. Talk that's instructed to build a genuine connection, empathy, and understanding. My thought is that's not common. Real talk is not common. And my belief is based on we tend to play around with honesty for various reasons. We don't hurt someone's feelings. We don't want to say something that people are going to think about us a certain way. We spend a lot of time mentally wondering how people are going to think about us and judge us. And to me, that's not necessary. But that's just some of the reasons I see why honesty basically gets played around with. And being direct brings forth certain challenges. And I believe we try, I'm not going to say I know we try to avoid basically those challenges. So in avoiding trying to deal with those challenges, we avoid being direct. And for some reason, the awkwardness of serious communication, we may not want to deal with that either. See, we're averse to awkwardness, don't like to handle it. So if serious communication is going to bring forth awkwardness, we'll stand back and stand down in that sense. The harsh reality is we're not big on empathy. Empathy, caring deeply for another person's emotional perspective. Because when you think about it, when someone's communicating, that's what they're really doing. They give you their perspective, their thought, their feeling on a certain topic. And the primary of this, when we think about communication, we're trying to work towards a mutual agreement in a conversation. But that's not our primary focus. Yeah. See, we're not programmed to think and give thought to work towards a mutual agreement. When we're communicating, that's the last thing we're thinking about. Am I really trying to work towards a mutual agreement with this person? Am I really trying to establish that? I think we're far from that. And a lot of times what we do when we're having a conversation with someone, we're throwing a cop-out phrase. Well, I agree to disagree. I agree to disagree. Now, that's a passive-aggressive way to avoid taking accountability. When we should be encouraged to think when we agree to disagree. We should be thinking. But rarely do we take that stand. No, we just basically end it and leave it there because, there again, it's a passive-aggressive way to avoid taking accountability. Real talk is built on active listening and vulnerability. These components are needed to address complex emotions. Now, that compound word there may scare some. Complex emotions. But you want a relationship, right? A relationship involves work. So if you really want to be in a relationship, you desire to be in a relationship, and you're in a relationship, guess what? You should be addressing complex emotions. Active listening. Intentional. Hear the word attentional. It's a deliberate choice to reflect on what is most important to us, not me. Active listening, not just listening, active listening, attentional. So you make a deliberate choice to reflect on what is most important in the relationship, us, not me, not I. Fully engaged practice of listening to understand. Understand the ability to comprehend the significance of something. Now, if you're going to do that, you're going to go back and reflect to understand, because you may not get it when you first hear it. That's the significance of something. I would venture to say, the core of us in general, we don't care to actually listen. We just don't. Because the cornerstone to actually listening builds trust and foster deeper connection. And the reason why I say we don't necessarily care to actively listening or to actively listen, because we're drenched in desire to be heard rather than listen. Yeah, we want to be heard. We don't really want to listen. We want to be heard. And listening requires attention, focus. It's work. It's not desirable. A big desire is to be heard. That desire eliminates active listening. So when you focus on being heard rather than listening, active listening basically goes out of the window. The focus is not to be understood, but the focus should basically be understanding other person's perspective. But the focus breaks into, we're partly waiting for that person to stop speaking so we can start speaking, which weakens the ability to comprehend and understand, which should be the primary focus. Yes, again, our primary focus in communication should be to focus on comprehending and understanding. But that's not our focus. It's not. We're waiting to basically dive in. A lot of time we're partly waiting to dive in to prove what the person's saying is wrong. So how can you wait just to pounce in and really be comprehending and understanding what the person is basically saying, their perspective? So in reality, we have to change our focus to comprehending and understanding. A genuine connection comes from a more meaningful conversation with meaningful topics. Tapping into vulnerability for both parties. Now, this space needs to harbor an area of safeness for an emotionally secure environment, freedom of expression, respectful, confidentiality, non-judgment. You keep those things into real talk, yes, how could you not grow a deeper emotional connection and deeper emotional bond? Our relationships need the foundation of real talk. Real talk is the backbone of a strong relationship, deep trust, emotional intimacy. Core issues are addressed when both parties feel heard and feel valued in the relationship. Build strong bonds between the two. It's proactive and conflict resolution. It will prevent misunderstandings. Have you really been in conversations with someone and you felt like your point was made, they understood what you were saying, and shortly thereafter, they come back and say, well, I thought you said. They really weren't listening. They really weren't paying attention. There goes the misunderstanding, because if you truly are paying attention, you're comprehending, and your focus is to understand, that'll eliminate I thought. It's not what you thought. It's what you heard and what you comprehend. It will fuel sustained growth, a deeper human connection. Real talk is about the present, an open-minded and honest way for a person to cultivate deeper connections. Don't confuse real talk for small talk. Small talk serves as a substitute for an emotional intimacy. It hinders emotional connection by avoiding meaningful conversations. So you can small talk for years. I mean, people do that, I'm sure, and they say, "Well, we don't have conflicts because you're not talking about anything. Your talk is muted, real small, so you're not talking about anything. You're not facing the hardcore topics. So don't confuse the two." I'm going to close this up. I want to thank you for giving me an ear, and appreciate you take time out of your day to listen to When Black Men Talk. You know God loves you, and I love you too. Take care of yourself. We'll get together real soon.